do something that has never before been done on this show.
Today on the show, we're on the ice with NHL 2004 and ESPN NHL Hockey. On the GameCube, it's Star Wars Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike. On PlayStation 2, we look at Starsky and Hutch. And we also review Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. It's hockey season, and we're going to review two very cool hockey games. The first one we're going to talk about is NHL 2004 from Electronic Arts.
Well, you know, EA has always been the king of hockey.
Yes.
Like they are in Madden football.
The NHL game that Sega put out last year won a lot of new fans.
Which is now called
It's called ESPN.
So that everyone knows.
EA had something to prove this year, and what they've done, they went back to the drawing board. They hired a whole bunch of new people. They brought in the team from Black Box that worked on the NHL Hits games. It's a brand new experience.
But what they did include is a lot of the general manager and franchise mode that you see in the Madden game.
One of the coolest things about this game is how many different ways you can play the game. I mean, the general manager mode is a terrific example. If you just want to have the strategic planning and all of the orchestration that's behind the scenes on making hockey a fun sport, you can do that. You can hire the staff that will handle the office duties. You can upgrade your facilities. You can set ticket prices. You can general manage a team for 20 seasons, which is amazing.
EA has always been about presentation and in-depthness.
Yes,
is that a word?
That's beautiful.
I think the biggest improvement this year is the defense.
They've definitely amped up the artificial intelligence.
I'll tell you what the best thing about this game, though, is, and no one's ever really done it too well, but they do it perfect, is the fighting aspect
fighting's excellent.
of EA's hockey is unbelievable. Let's show them how they do it.
They're grabbing the jerseys. They don't have sticks in their hand. I really like the new additions that they've done with the right analog stick. This time you can do a few more deep moves. You can also press it down to charge up your hit. And on the PlayStation 2, you can also get online, and they have the EA Sports Talk, so you can actually be chatting with people. It's very similar to what Xbox Live offers. One thing I was really surprised about in NHL 2004 was the fact that it was so hard to get a one-timer off. I'm going to give NHL 2004 8.5 out of 10.
And 8.5 as well.
On the positive side, putting the big hit feature on the right analog stick is a great idea. We love the general manager mode. And on the PlayStation 2, the online play is awesome.
On the negative side, although it's a great game, it just doesn't seem as fun to play as ESPN does. The EA Tracks logo keeps popping up all over the place during gameplay. And it seems like it's a little too difficult to pull off a one-timer.
All right, let's talk about ESPN NHL Hockey from Sega. We looked at it on the Xbox, but of course it's also available for PlayStation 2.
Well, the ESPN hockey game is actually a lot more fun
I think so.
to play.
Yeah.
The actual gameplay itself is a lot more in-depth.
Yes.
Now, I felt that it wasn't as fast a game as the EA one, and it wasn't as tough. But they do have settings on there, so when you get into this game, you want to crank the settings way up.
There's actually a really cool skills game in here where you can learn some of the specific moves and some of the specific things that you can do in the game.
Can you learn that move?
You can learn some of those moves.
If you're an Xbox Live person or Xbox person, this is the only one to get because EA doesn't offer Xbox Live.
One thing I didn't like about playing online with ESPN on Xbox Live or on NHL on the PlayStation 2 when you play that one online as well, after you're finished your game, it kicks you right back out to the menu screen. You can't just do an instant rematch. They don't have the depth of the general manager mode and
the stat
tracking isn't quite as nice, but they do have some really nice extras in ESPN as well. I love the mini rink, which is a great idea. You can also play the skills competition online, so you can see who's got the hardest shot and who's got the hardest hit, and you can see who's got the best shooting accuracy.
Most penalty minutes.
You can also unlock cool things like pond hockey. They've also got this thing called a skybox, which is like the crib from their football game.
From MTV?
No, from their football game, where you can win all the rewards and all the extra stuff. All the trophies that you win, they're all on display up there. But one of the nicest things in the Skybox is a little mini game of air hockey. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10.
Well, there's something I said that was going to be special in the show, and ESPN Hockey gets a 8.5 as well for me.
On the positive side, we love the Skybox mode. All the extra gameplay modes like the mini rink and the pond hockey are fantastic. But the best reason to play ESPN Hockey is the great control and the feeling of actually being on the ice.
On the negative side, there's not as much stat tracking as the EA game or the general manager mode. The EA game seems a bit more challenging, and when playing online, you get kicked back to the main menu. You can't play a rematch.
Let's switch from hockey sticks to lightsabers now, and we're going to talk about Star Wars.
Oops.
Was that necessary? Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike.
That's right.
From LucasArts for the GameCube. What'd you think of this one?
The great thing about this game is that you can ride on tauntauns, okay? You can get on your speeder bikes and you do that. You can attach yourselves to AT-ATs. You got all the great flying missions with all the spaceships.
Now the big deal here though is that it's not always vehicles. You're not always off in space or flying over land or in speeders or something. You can also get on foot and carry a regular blaster and start shooting at stormtroopers and stuff like that.
Now, what did you think of the controls, though?
Remember the Super Star Wars series that came out on the Super Nintendo system?
No.
And they had Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, Super
yes.
Return of the Jedi. All those games, they tried to throw in everything into one game, but nothing is as good as it could possibly be because everybody's spent so much attention on creating all of these different kinds of genres in one game. The controls, when you're on foot, were terrible.
This is supposed to take place right after Star Wars, between
right,
Star Wars and Empire, right?
Carries on, right?
Well, how come I saw a bunch of stuff from episodes 1 and 2 in there, like battle droids? What are they doing there?
Well, here's the interesting thing. They wanted to introduce and connect and get everything all together from the whole Star Wars mythology. It's a nice idea to connect the films, but, you know, like Tommy and like a lot of people, I'm partial to the original trilogy.
Factor 5, the developer has always done the spaceship stuff great.
It really is
beautiful. You
beautiful.
get to an X-Wing fighter, I mean, it's heaven.
You get a brand new bunch of missions. You can play that whole game in co-op mode. They've also thrown in all of the previous Rogue Squadron game that you onto this disc, and now you can play that whole game as a 2-player game. There's also the original Star Wars arcade game is hidden in this thing.
Sweet.
And 25 minutes of movie footage, a whole behind-the-scenes documentary.
Great stuff.
I'm going to give Star Wars Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike an 8 out of 10.
Well, I tell you what, I love this game. I'm giving this game an 8.
On the positive side, Rebel Strike gives you a whole bunch of different gameplay elements to enjoy. The graphics in this game are sensational. It's really starting to look like the movies now. And if you're a Star Wars fanatic, you're going to love all of the extras that Factor 5 and LucasArts have thrown into this one.
On the negative side, when you're walking around in third person, it's really hard to control and aim. And although we love the tauntauns and ATSTs and land speeders and speeder bikes, all those elements didn't seem as polished as, let's say, the flying elements. And although the flying was perfect, it just seems that at this stage in the game, we've kind of played this so many times before. Well, stick around because coming up we have something that has never happened on this show before.